Sarnia, I'm Katie Horvath. This is called Into the City. I'm here today with Anne-Marie Gillis. Anne-Marie is running for mayor in the upcoming Sarnia municipal election, and she's currently on city council as a city and county councillor. Anne-Marie, thank you so much for chatting with me this evening.
It's a pleasure, Katie. I'm so glad that you could come and see us.
Well, thank you. So for those who haven't yet had a chance to meet you, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for mayor this year?
Well, how far back do you want to go?
Well, we got about a 25-minute time slot, so we could go a little further back.
A little further back.
Yeah.
Well, I was born and raised in the Maritimes. My father worked for the government, so we moved a lot. And his last move was the city of Sarnia, the port of Sault Ste. Marie.
Okay.
So we left the Maritimes and came up to the Soo. And I finished my education there, met my husband, fell in love, married, and on our honeymoon, my husband and I came down to the city of Sarnia because he had just gotten a job with Dow Chemical. So that's how we've got to Sarnia. Okay. We fell in love with the blue water, we fell in love with the people who live here, and we decided to make it our home. So we raised 3 children. We've been here for 42 years. Our children's names are Daryl, Vanessa, and Celine. Celine and Vanessa live here in the city and have made their homes here as well and are raising their families here. And Daryl, like so many others, is out west, specifically in Calgary, working in an engineering firm out there. So our family has a deep sense of affinity to both Calgary and the city of Sarnia because all of my children are engineers. My husband is an engineer consultant working in the oil and gas field. So we have a very close connection to the west and the east. So why do I want to become mayor? Because I think leadership matters. Leadership is very important, and progressive and positive leadership is extremely important to our city because we want to move our city forward. And I have a 5-point plan that I would like to implement to make that happen. I have a good relationship with not only my peers on council, but members of our community, broadening out to members of the provincial government, members of the federal government, and I was just away this past few days to nurture those relationships even more with the provincial government because they're new. So basically, in a nutshell, that's me.
Okay, great. So what is it about you personally that you feel will make you a good representative for the people of Sarnia as mayor? I know you touched on it slightly, but if you could elaborate a little bit further on that point.
Well, I draw on my professional expertise, and I am an RN, retired, but an RN as my profession. And one of the things we do in my profession is not only in the caring and nurturing, but also the anticipation, the planning, the trying to solve problems, looking to the future to see where you want your patients. You want your patients to get better, you want your patients to thrive and get back to be an active member of the community. And those skills that I've learned via that profession, I've applied to in my professional life as a politician. Because the same skill sets are there. Good communications, building relationships, looking to the future, solving problems, team building. All of those things are incorporated into what I think makes a very good mayor.
Okay, great. So at this point in the interview, I like to get people's reflections on the current council, which obviously you're a part of, so you'll offer some the inside look. So I guess first question in regards to this in general, could you comment on the term, some things that went well and some things that potentially could have gone a little bit differently?
Well, initially when I first was thinking of running again, I really wasn't thinking of running again in 2010. I'd just come off a very big election, and my daughter was getting married, and everything was in the same time frame. So I gave that a lot of thought about whether I would run again or not. And the people that I was speaking to, a lot of my supporters said, well, Anne-Marie, you have to run again. And I thought, I'm not sure how I can fit this in. But nevertheless, I took on that mantle, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to mentor the new people that would be coming in. And we knew that there would be new members of council and I assumed that the people of the city of Sarnia were happy with the work that we had done in the previous term of 2006 to 2010 to 2014. And there were a few people who weren't coming back. John McEachran had decided to retire to put more time and effort into his family and into his business. So I knew that there were more people coming on, and I have always crafted what I wanted to do in a time frame. So I wanted to be at council so I could initially learn the role, make my mark in what I wanted to achieve, and then mentor someone or people to do the role again. So to teach and then lead. And a friend of mine always said, you want to make your job, you want to make yourself redundant. So you have to be able to mentor people so that they will be comfortable enough to do the job that you're doing. And that's a sign of a good leader. So I thought to myself, all right, I've done the first two, but I haven't done the last one. I haven't had the opportunity to mentor new people coming in. So this would be that opportunity to finish off what I thought would be a good way to finish off a career. So that was my intent when I first ran for this term. And as it turned out, we had 3 new people coming on. So there was a great opportunity for people to learn the role, because people have an idea of what a counselor is, and then the reality of the responsibility is so much different. And some people are a little overwhelmed by the workload, and specifically if you're a county councilor, it's double the workload. And if you're not busy reading reports or meeting with constituents, there are always things that you're trying to work on to make the city a better place. So it is very consuming. The time is very consuming. So when council started off, there was a huge learning curve for a lot of people. Excuse me. I'm going to take some water.
I think I will too.
Take some water. We're all having some water because Katie is not feeling well, and we want to make sure that Katie feels well and does as well.
Thank you.
Because we believe in helping each other. So, and picking up on that theme, there was, as I said, there were new counselors coming in. So it was a wise move for me to stay. And as we progressed through, I was just basically blown away by the eagerness, the ideas that were coming forward, the things that I thought that, and was quite comfortable with where we were in the city, specifically about how we were using the internet and how we were reaching out to people. I thought we were doing a very good job. But when the new counselors came in and had that expertise that was well above my level, I thought, wow, we need to really pay attention. We need to incorporate more of their ideas when it comes to the digital connectivity and the way to communicate to people. And that really, basically lit the fire, shall we say. And so many people that were not perhaps on Facebook or using social media to communicate to us as counselors, we're now taking that opportunity, and they themselves had that ability. So I was mentoring them as to how the specifics of the role of counselor was going, and they in turn were mentoring me on the value of social media, how to use it, how to communicate, how to reach out more. So I found that was very good. They brought things into us that we were just totally unaware of. And we had new administrative staff that came in that were showing us what other municipalities were doing, how other municipalities were moving forward. And that to me, I thought, oh my goodness, this is amazing. We're really going to challenge ourselves, and we're really going to work to create a whole new Sarnia, one that perhaps we hadn't been able to do in the past because we didn't have the people with those particular skill sets and those particular visions that these folks brought to us, because they were from different parts of the country. So that was exciting. And we realized too that not only had that changed, but also the Municipal Act had changed. And what we were responsible for was changing. And for example, we all had to take training with harassment in the workplace, which we had never done before. It wasn't a requirement, but it is now. And many of the rules and regs of the Municipal Act has changed dramatically as well. So where we came into difficulty was a new group coming in, knowing the new rules, and a group that had been basically rooted in the old rules. And the roles and responsibilities have changed for a municipal politician. We don't have the power that we think we had in the past. Everything has changed. So what you are is basically, and we're going back to the Mayoral, you are one among equals. So you all have a voice at the table. What a mayor does is chair the meetings, represent the city, but also represent the views of council. So if council votes to do something, then the mayor has to champion that. That's the way the rules are designed. You may not like it, but you still have to represent what the council's decision has been, simply because the council is the voice of the people. And therefore, you have to speak to that and represent that. And remember that council was elected to be the voice of the people. And so one among equals. So I think that's where it did get a bit terse. However, new rules came into place, and they are going to be law. We must have a code of conduct. That is the new law as of March of next year. We already have one. We're ahead of the game. And actually, our mayor introduced that concept to us and introduced the concept at the county, and we embraced the code of conduct. The Integrity Commissioner is going to be law as of March of next year. We embrace that as well. Some of councillors, particularly the new councillors, were a little uncertain about that. They weren't sure exactly what that meant. However, the mayor introduced it, and we embraced it. And when we saw things that, again, because we have new people coming in, dynamics are changing, rules have changed. We found that we were trying to adapt to the new rules instead of hanging on to the past. Okay. No, I'm going to take it because it's your turn and now it's mine. Do you want to take another?
I do. I appreciate you working with me through this. So obviously there have been some of the divisive topics, such as politics. One in particular that I've been hearing about my ear on the ground is at Centennial Park. On the plus side, the park is finished. We have a beautiful park now. That's all set. That was a giant project. On the negative side, it went over budget. So there's been some criticism from the taxpayers. So my question is, if you are elected as mayor, do you think that there are ways to increase the communication when projects sometimes go over budget? And could you comment in general on what happened there with the budget?
Well, actually, you have to look at Centennial Park as a package of three. There were three projects that were rolled into one. So, and the rationale, again, from an engineering point of view is, when you have the ground open, you fix what's there. You don't want to put everything back and then have to dig it up again. So there are things that were happening that dated back to the previous council. So for example, the actual park was closed in 2012 because of a residue that was coming up from the ground in various locations. It had happened a couple of times before that were reported to council, but not to the extent that it had been. So therefore, the park was closed. The engineer decided to close the park with the consensus of the mayor and the CAO at the time. That was the way he found. And that was the right thing to do, to close the park. Then they did an environmental assessment. The environmental assessment itself cost well over $800,000. So that particular bill, shall we say, didn't get paid until the next council.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I think there's some confusion, and people are seeing escalating costs, but you had to have the environmental assessment. As a result, you had to bring in the MOECC at the time. Now they're changing their name, but the Ministry of the Environment. And there were several other government agencies that were involved because of what was perceived and turned out to be contamination at Centennial Park. So then you were into a full-on remediation project. When you first look at a remediation project, when you're talking about the valley, for example, the rules are different. Because a park remediation is I think it's a Class A remediation. So everything has to be, the level of what one does is much higher than what one does, say, for brownfield remediation, or which would be what they do in the valley. So there are two different things going on. So because the level, the requirements are so different, then the needs, again, are different of what one does. There was a lot of pushback from people saying, you know, it's been there forever. We shouldn't touch it. We should just leave everything the way it is. We're all good. But the problem with that is, once you know that something's in the ground, or once you know that there is contamination, then I am liable. I am personally liable. We can't say, well, you know, it'll be fine. You can't make that assumption. One simply has to do.
Right.
So when the new council came in, and we learned of the extent of what needed to be done, we set aside, I think it was $5.5 million. And that was a recorded vote, and everyone agreed to it. So that was what we were going with. Then when they started to rip up everything, we had a major water line break, which took away the water from all of the businesses in that area. Again, our city engineer, and rightly so, said, I've got this ground all open. I need to fix this now. So he came to council and he said, you know, this would be a future build. This would be something that we would have done a couple of years out, but instead, it's here. We know what the problem is. We've got the ground open. We need to do this. So we did that, and that added on to the price tag. Then also we remediated the roadways, and that also added on to the price tag. But then again, it was a similar taking advantage of what we were doing. So we had everything all ripped apart anyway. The road needed to be done, so you do it then. And we packaged all of those in one package, and so your 5.5 million changed, and then you added on your 800,000 assessment from the previous term. So that's why it looked like it was escalating in costs, but the reality was it was pretty much on budget when you take in all of those. Then there was a decision that we had to move the boat ramp, and originally we weren't going to. We were going to leave it as it was. But because the government regulations, and I believe it was the MOECC, it might have been the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, there's so many that are involved in this, that we had to move it. And the company that we hired, coming back to the previous company, which was Golder, who did Golder Environmental, did everything on time and under budget. The other construction group, which Golder's Construction, which was a different company within the company. No, Briex was a subcontractor. But Golder contractors were the ones that had done the plans for the original boat ramp, and were having great difficulty because of what they call the basal heave. So there has been remediation in the water down in the valley. Particularly Dow Chemical did a huge, massive remediation, and came across the same problem. So we were, as council, thought, okay, we'll deal with this. But as they continued on and they didn't change their plans, we thought, no, you can't, it's not going to work. And when they came again and wanted to try something else, we said, no. But people would say, why did you wait so long? Why didn't you, end that project and bring in another company, because all of their work is warranted. So we wanted to make sure that they finished what they were doing because it's under warranty.
Okay.
So if you sever the job, you lose the warranty.
Okay.
So we're protecting the public's interest, taking a lot of heat, but protecting the public's interest. So
Okay.
that's the answer to that question.
All right. Well, thank you. So how are we for time? 20. Okay. Well, let's get into the specifics of what you're running on. You mentioned at the beginning you have a 5-point plan. Could you tell us about that plan?
I'll tell you a little bit about that plan.
Okay.
Because we are releasing it to the public, and we don't want the good news to get out too soon. So first and foremost, leadership matters, positive leadership, experience matters. We are looking to create, we want to create a vision of growth for the city of Sarnia. We want to ignite a fire of hope. And how do we do that? We build relationships. And I've touched base on that before. The other thing we want to do, and I don't want to sound cliche, but we want to cut the red tape. We want to encourage the economic vibrancy of the city by building up and supporting the businesses that we have, and basically, welcoming new businesses into our community. How do we do that? We do that through strategic planning that somewhat has been done at the city. We have done a corporate strategic plan for the city of Sarnia. I want to build on this corporate strategic plan because we've implemented a portion of it and we've seen the results of it over the past 2 years. So by utilizing this technique of developing a strategic plan as a team and working as a team, One Team Sarnia, we have seen a revolution and an evolution within our community of all the new builds and just people presenting interest to coming into our city. So I want to build on that, but there are things that we need to do. We need to cut the red tape. So that's one thing that I intend to work on vehemently to get that done. People have said to me, I want my road fixed. I don't care whatever you do. I want my road fixed. And they're absolutely right. If you look though at the big projects that have been done, and they're almost coming to an end. In the south end of the city, the roads are fixed. But in the other parts of the city, they aren't. Because a lot of money was put into paying down the debt, which I fully supported. That was what I ran on in 2003. And the debt was $110 million at that time. And now we're down to about $10 million. So we wrestled that beast to the ground. Now it's time to reinvest in our city. So we want to fix the roads, but we also want to fix them before they break. So I want to have a preventative maintenance program. So those are just a couple of things that I throw out there to people. So investment in infrastructure is extremely important to me, but also investing in our youth, investing in so that we become an inclusive community. Because I have found over the years, we do not embrace change. We do not embrace the marginalized sectors. And how I put that is, we're very good, I think we have a very good record from a poverty agenda perspective, but from an inclusivity, we need to work on that, and that can be our strength.
Could you elaborate on that a little bit further on who's included in your inclusivity statement?
Well, one thing that I've noticed, and it's come to my attention by people who have brought this to my attention, is the LGBTQ community. They feel that their needs haven't been identified. So that I feel very strongly about that. Also, we are now, I belong to, or I'm sitting on a committee of council, which I absolutely love, which is called the United Nations Declaration for the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. So we want to reach out, we respect our First Nations. We want to make sure that they feel included in the community of the city of Sarnia, because they are very much a part of the community of the city of Sarnia. We want to make sure that they have the same opportunities that you and I have as citizens of the city of Sarnia. So that's just a little bit. But you could go on. But I'm just kind of giving you some of the folks that perhaps haven't had the same opportunities or a politician speaking on their behalf as perhaps other communities have had.
Okay, that's fair. So we've got an addiction problem in our community. Well, it's a problem.
We have a health problem.
Yeah,
we do have a health problem. There's no question.
So specifically, and I saw you at Greg Jones' rally, the Take Back Our City rally. Can I just get your thoughts on that issue, and if there's any supports that could be put into play locally, and kind of what we could do as a community to help folks that are struggling with addiction?
Well, I think you touched on it. I think it's a community issue that's going to have to be, we are going to be the catalyst that creates the change for people who are marginalized through their addictions. Lantern Public Health is doing a very good job in some respects, but the community, there's a gap. So we have to recognize the gap. We had a similar problem, but not to this extent, when I first got on council. And in some parts of the city, we revitalized the Neighborhood Watch program. And I spoke to that at Greg's rally. Because what that does is it brings people together as a community. And there are emergency services coming into play, our police services come into play, the people who live in the community come into play, and they take ownership of their community. And they embrace people who are marginalized and people who are suffering. We're not there yet, but I perceive that as one of the solutions to the problem. The other thing, of course, is we've got to get them on. We've got to get the drugs off the street. So we have to create a community where people aren't afraid to walk their streets, aren't afraid to go to their parks, and right now, in some spaces, they are. I've seen what I'm speaking about put into practice in some of the parks in the city, where more people are coming in and utilizing the parks and using the parks. They're using it for community gardens, which is, by the way, when people say community gardens, they think flowers, but no, it's vegetable gardens. They've taken ownership of that. The city has helped them take ownership of that. So they're there. People are tending their vegetable gardens at different hours of the day. So they're there later in the evening. They're there early in the morning. So people who were using the parks for to aid their addictions aren't there anymore because there's people there. Right. But you don't want the people to hide. You want to be able to help. So there are other initiatives that we were talking about actually when I was at AMO. Premier Ford was bringing forward, but also the Minister of Health, Christine Elliott, was trying to address. So safe injection sites and all of that it involves doesn't seem to be off of the table anymore, where it seemed to be before, where the previous government was embracing that. So I think we'll see something happening from that perspective, which will help us, and particularly the Lambton Public Health Unit, which hopefully will get more funding so that we can utilize our abilities using the services that we have, our community that is within the area where the problem is. The other thing that we've done is we've created the Minton Street Committee, which identifies some social needs, so they will need monies to help them do whatever it is they choose to do. And all those good things can happen, but we can't do it unless we do it as a community.
Right, okay. So we're getting close to the end here. So you've got 3 others that are running against you in the race. So kind of elevator pitch, why should we choose you? Why should we vote for you?
Well, again, as I say, it all comes down to leadership. It all comes down to leadership. It's positive leadership. It's building relationships. It's also having the experience that I have gleaned over the past 15 years, and certainly over the past 2 years, to be able to lead our city into the future. We have progressive ideas. We aren't going back. We want to go forward. And and Sarnia could have the opportunity to make history. You could have the first woman mayor, and that in itself, to me, is an exciting proposition or possibility. And with that, I graciously ask you for your support. Vote Anne Marie Gillis in 2018.
Thank you. So that's it for questions that I have for you, Anne-Marie. I wanted to thank you again for allowing me to come in and chat with you. Just wanted to give you an opportunity if there's anything that I missed, if there's anything else that you wanted to add, your final message to the people of Sarnia.
I want to tell the people of Sarnia that Sarnia is on the move. Sarnia is a great place. We want a great place for us to live, work, and play. We want to get the secret out that Sarnia is a great place to live, work, and play, and we want to bring industry here so that we can grow as a community, we can grow in our population, and we can move forward into the 21st century and take our rightful place.
Great. Thanks again, Anne-Marie. So if you like what Anne-Marie has to say, polls open online, and you can also vote by telephone on October 11th through to October 22nd. That's the election day. This has been Into the City. Again, Anne-Marie Gillis running for mayor in the upcoming municipal election. Thank you for watching.